What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, the Colts have had a meeting today with the three Irsay daughters. Their first meeting and addressing the media since taking over the team with the passing of their father. And they had a lot to say. And there definitely were some good snippets here. We'll try to get as much of it on here as possible. It is up on the Colts YouTube channel, so if you ever want to go and take a listen to that, feel free to go do so. A lot of good stuff over there, I'm sure. I mean, I guess we can kind of just go into some bullet points, Cody, when we're talking about some of the things that were said. I'll go from Stephen Holder and James Boyd again, because, again, they were one of the two that, really broke down a lot of this very well. So we'll go ahead and do that. So one of the first things Stephen Holder mentioned said, much has been made of Colts owner Carly Irsay Gordon wearing headsets during games. We've seen her on the sideline. She's wearing the headset, doing stuff like that. Says we've explained it to help her better understand dynamics, but she added details today stating, I need to be able to say, is this person full of BS? Do they even know what they're talking about? Stuff like that. Says it's such a complex organism, a football team, and how it operates. You could say, oh, that person ran the wrong route wrong. When you learn, oh, someone tagged the wrong wide receiver, and it wasn't really the player's fault. It was the person that called it. Said, I would suggest it for anyone else that has to pay coaches and GMs millions and millions of dollars. It helps you make a less expensive mistake potentially. And Steven said, agree or disagree, it makes sense. What say you about that?
Yeah, that does make sense when you break it down like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame her at all, man. I mean, it can be so easy. I know so many owners that do this at the NFL level, right? Where, you can sit up in your suite, you can just be kind of like away because you are the owner, right? Like you don't have to sit down and understand things like team dynamics. You just have to write the checks. That's all you got to do, right? But I love the fact that Carly is in it. Like she's been in it for the last number of years, down on the field, understanding dynamics. Like that stuff matters, man. Like you can acquire all the talent, you can spend all the money, but at the end of the day, you want to know and trust that, like she said, you want to know who knows their stuff, and you don't want to know who's kind of BSing it, honestly. So yeah. I think that's wise, man. I think that's absolutely wise to, and what owner does that? I mean, honestly, that's super refreshing.
Yeah, there's very few that are hands-on in the operations of everyday football when it comes to their teams.
But that's awesome. Like that's really cool that how she explained that. I like that.
Yeah, and to kind of continue with that sort of thing, stated that when asked about the direction of the team, Carly stated, we have a standard and it hasn't been met. So it hasn't been met. She adds that she thinks Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen are capable of turning things around, but she makes no broad promises / commitments on personnel. Even went and said, this is our business and we take it seriously. Like, I mean, again, Cody, we've kind of said it at times that, the last couple years, Irsay's kind of been loyal to a fault, when it comes to some of the people that he's done this. Like, Irsay very rarely, Cody, as a man that's owned the Colts for almost 30 years, he very rarely made rash decisions when it came to, this team, right? He wasn't about, like, when we saw in 2022, right? That was an anomaly, like where we fired a head coach mid-season and then replaced him with someone else. And then in the next offseason, we replaced him with a whole new coach, all this other stuff. Like, that type of stuff just didn't happen under Irsay. It only ever happened one time. And, there was always the occasional firing that resulted in a new guy coming in, but that was always done in the off season. Never really had something like that happen. And, there were a few GM changes, but I mean, there weren't a ton of new GMs over all this. So kind of just like everything was done by the book for the most part with Irsay. And a lot of times things were done past when the damage was already done, right? So you got to wonder if Carly and the other girls are looking at this and they say the standard's not being met. Are they going to be a little bit more stingy? And are they going to nip something in the butt when it happens sooner rather than later than what Jim would have probably done?
Right, that's what we said when we initially looked at, the idea of the Colts and under this new, these new owners, like under the girls, it's going to be more business-like, right? Like, what does that mean? That was kind of like our big question. Does that mean business first? Family's obviously important, but we're not going to let the family aspect of it overtake the business side of things. And sometimes it felt like those maybe were blurred a little bit too much, like you said, where it was loyalty to a fault sometimes for frankly guys that didn't earn it, didn't deserve it, and that's kind of how it was. So yeah, that is just very, very fascinating that she would go and say that. It's interesting, Derek, because I saw people whenever she was talking about the idea of we haven't met the standard and all that, and then they were saying, and then she when she said the idea of we believe that Chris and Shane can turn it around. They're capable of it, right? They're capable of it. They know they haven't been the standard. We haven't been where we want to be. There was almost people, I don't know if you saw this or not, Derek, but people who were saying, I liked everything until the last thing you said. And people were almost taking it as like Carly was going to bat for Shane and going to bat for Chris. And I'm like, well, number one, what else is she supposed to say? Like, she's not going to come out and say, we hate our coach, we hate our GM, we think they're incompetent. Like, no, obviously not. She's not going to say that. She's going to back the current people in charge calling the shots. But also, Derek, I didn't get that sense of even what, let's be honest, what Jim Irsay said, a couple of years ago about Chris Ballard. Like, he is a blue chip GM. Like, we didn't hear that from Carly at all. It was, this is the reality. We haven't been to the standard. They know this. We believe they can turn it around. But also, like you said, there aren't these like promises. There aren't these like, these are our guys, whatever. Like, we didn't hear any of that from them, which I think is refreshing. And, the personal ties aren't there. Like, obviously they've been there in the building for a long time, but it seems like it's a lot more of a business mindset, right? Because you've said it, like, we're serious about this thing. Like, we're serious about this organization. So all that stuff to say, it's encouraging, and hopefully, they put their money where their mouth is when it comes to this. And if it's another lackluster season where you don't win the division, where you don't make the playoffs, if you have another quarterback issue, another carousel going on, hopefully they say, hey, look, enough's enough. Like, we need to start over. We need to get a new quarterback. We need to do all these things, get new people in charge. That's the hope, I think, for a lot of people when hearing that is like, if it doesn't, again, fulfill the standard that we all want, then there's going to be some changes. And it's not going to be, oh, we're going to give them another year to figure it out. It's like, well, no, the results are there and they're not good. So all that to say, it's definitely on the surface, it's encouraging to hear. But again, we'll have to see how the season plays out and moving forward.
And of course, like, it feels like Ballard and Steichen are a little bit behind the eight ball right now. The girls are giving them the benefit of the doubt. They're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're going to say, we're going to trust you guys to figure this thing out. We are still giving you the chance. But obviously, they said it. The standard hasn't been met. And who's been the standard over the last few years? It's mainly been Ballard, but Steichen's also been in there, and it hasn't been getting fixed. So something needs to be changed. Something needs to get better. And so the girls are going to give them a chance to figure it out. And if they don't, then obviously that's what it is. They obviously don't want to micromanage because nobody wants a new owner that's going to micromanage every aspect of this, because these are, again, grown men that are being paid millions of dollars to be able to do stuff like this. And so there's no need to micromanage it, which obviously they understand. So not really a big issue. And for anyone that wonders, I know we're not really going to talk much about Casey in this because, she didn't really talk a whole lot in this press conference. The majority of the stuff went towards Carly, because, again, Carly is going to be in the actual role of what Jim would have been doing. So maybe that's why, from an operation standpoint, the majority of it went through Carly, and obviously the girls kind of gravitated towards Carly being the spokesperson for this. But there is a few Kaylin things in here. Carly actually said, Cody, that she made a joke to start the presser by saying that they thought about being 30 minutes late in honor of their father today. So yeah, that was a funny joke. We always know the Colts never start their press conferences on time ever.
Never.
Whether it's Ballard, whether it's Irsay, it doesn't really matter. One of the things Kaylin did say today, says her father's biggest goal, besides having a big and loving family, was to see his daughters take over ownership of the team. She calls today bittersweet, for obvious reasons. That definitely is something where she said, they wanted to have this happen in a way, but in the way that it did happen. They did say that the support from Colts fans and just the community in general has been really awesome for them, and it's helped them to get through this time of grieving, while at the same time knowing that they're carrying on their father's legacy, which definitely is helping them. A couple things here, Cody, when it comes to Anthony Richardson. People were asking Carly about it, and she said, "We drafted Anthony for a reason. We believe in him, and he's incredibly talented." Said it's way too early to tell how things will go for him, but they'll lean on Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen for feedback. I mean, that sounds like the very prototypical answer, right? I mean, just doesn't,
Right.
not much more to it than that.
Yeah, I mean, at the point, it's like, what do you want them to say? Like, they have to say that, right? Like, regardless of how maybe you feel behind the scenes, all the questions you have, like, I mean, that's the truth. Like, you just don't know 100% yet, right? So, yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with any of these answers. I mean, this is what you have to do, at least for 2025. We're not talking about 2026 and beyond. We're talking about 2025, right? So, in the immediate, for the quarterback, for the personnel, for everything, this is where you're at. And so I don't have an issue with any of these answers they gave about this stuff.
Yeah, and then there was something else that I saw. I think they said as well that they were trying to, in the process of all of this, they still wanted to create a fun and engaging environment in the midst of all this. Obviously, a lot of their focus is now going to be on running this, and which is probably going to preoccupy a little bit more time than they had to in previous years, but still want to keep it as a family friendly environment that they've tried so hard to be willing to do. All in all, Cody, I mean, how do you think that how the girls did with handling all this?
Yeah, I mean, it seems straightforward. It seems like they know what they expect. And, it definitely seems like some of the expectations that maybe have fallen off the last couple of years, to be honest with you. But now, hopefully, like you said, like Carly's been able to see it. The girls have been able to experience it for their entire lifetime, right? So they know what greatness looks like. They've experienced that. So it's really nice, I guess, to be able to know that they've seen it. They've seen it done well. They've seen it done poorly. Like, they've seen really good teams. They've seen not so good teams. So they know what it takes to win, which is great. So, yeah, I think overall, for the first one, I think they handled themselves very well. I mean, really, like you said, it was just Carly for the most part. So she did a good job being able to kind of set the standard and just continue to hold that high standard that we've all come to expect for the Indianapolis Colts. And unfortunately, the last couple of years, it hasn't necessarily been the standard that we've been used to. So I'm hopeful, man, that they can just lead the Colts into a new era here and can bring back some of those standards that maybe have kind of been dropped a little bit the last couple of years.
The future will remain bright, and, we certainly will continue to support them as they continue to, go on this journey, and also while they grieve their father in the process. But let us know your thoughts, guys, on this and how your confidence is in the Irsay daughters to take over this team and how they're going to do. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys again so much for all the support. And as always, guys, go Colts.